It is time now for our Friday segment, Movie Spotlight, where we discuss box office hits and the must-watch indie picks worth your time this weekend. Joining us in the studio again are our movie critics, Jason Bechervaise. Hello, Jason.
Hello.
And Darcy Paquet. Hello, Darcy.
Hi, good to be here.
Jason, so apparently we're doing something a bit different this week. You have selected a film that isn't released until next week, meaning this will be a sneak preview of sorts.
That's right. You know, as much as I really want to talk about Toy Story 5, actually, I'm looking to, cover a Korean genre film. We don't have a show next week, and then it'll be Busan the week after. So I'm taking this opportunity to give everyone a sneak preview.
And this movie is called The Eyes, or 눈동자, starring Shin Min-a, a remake of a Spanish feature called Julia's Eyes from 2010. What's this film about?
Yeah, sure. So another remake, we can talk about that in a bit if there's time. And I have not watched the original, but this remake does take a similar premise. Shin Min-a plays basically two characters who are twins, and they both suffer from this eye disease, which kind of looks like glaucoma because you got the pupil, it just kind of completely clouds up, and but weirdly the center of the eye just kind of moves around, which is kind of unsettling. Basically, one of the twins has taken her own life, and the other is a photographer who's gradually also losing her own sight because it's hereditary. And so she starts searching for more clues surrounding her sister's death. And there was actually a plea at the beginning of the press screening not to reveal spoilers, so I'm going to do my best and not say too much. Because I might spoil it for you. It also stars Kim Nani, Kim Young-ah. It's directed by Yum Ji-ho, who made a genre film called Next Door from 2022, which I also watched. It's financed and distributed by this company, this studio, by 4am, which has actually attracted a lot of attention in the local industry here because there's been, even though the industry's struggled to perform to the heights of the 2010s, this particular studio has had a number of films that have either broken even or done very well. So even if Love Disappears from the World Tonight, which is actually a remake, The Match, Noise, Heartspring, Tweeny Ping, the animation, Firefighters as well, and also distributed Backrooms. So they've done really well. That sold over 1 million tickets. So that's worth mentioning.
I'm going to be curious about Shin Min-a's acting, just because pulling off two characters is not something easy. Sure. And something that only a few, I think, have pulled off in a excellent manner. But maybe that's a different question for a different day. Korean cinema is famous for its genre titles, not least thrillers like Memories of Murder, The Chaser, The Call. Is this film more female-driven?
It is female-driven, and that's something I always welcome. This is a genre that, it's a male-dominated industry, but this particular genre tends to be, centered around male figures, the protagonist and the antagonist. The problem is that quite often this genre, that some of the themes can be misogynistic. And I have to be careful about what I say about the plot, but it does deal with themes of gender, and I didn't really appreciate them that much in so much as that I just felt that I think it did feel quite misogynistic in places, and there are particular characters that I had an issue with. That being said, though, it's a riveting film. I was engaged, and there is a big Alfred Hitchcock influence, as I was talking to Darcy as we were walking towards KBS today. I could say the films, but if I do name them, it does give it away. But what I'll say is a very famous Alfred Hitchcock seminal movie from 1960 that changed cinema. That might give but sometimes when I talk to students and I talk about Alfred Hitchcock, they just give me a blank face. So it's possible that that doesn't really give too much away anyway. But there's a blatant kind of Hitchcock reference at the end of the movie. Okay. I haven't seen the original, so I'll be curious to see if that's in there. But it's a thriller. It's not a horror film, although it does kind of start that way. And we're seeing audiences come back to the theatre to see genre movies, Salmokji, the horror movie that sold over 3 million tickets. So, I actually do see audiences here, getting behind it, because it is a kind of unnerving movie in many respects. It's unpredictable. It's there are twists, and so I'm trying not to say too much. It's not easy.
Well, you've dropped one big hint, Alfred Hitchcock.
I couldn't resist.
This is the latest remake following Even If Love Disappears from the World Tonight and Once We Were Us. Why does Korea remake so many films?
Yeah.
Maybe other countries do as well. I don't have a tally in front of me, so I can't say with certainty, but this is certainly a trend here. Jason, can you tell us more?
Yeah, so often, Korean films get remade in Hollywood, and obviously there are some really bad examples of that, old boy. Although, Begonia was an interesting one, a remake of Save the Green Planet directed by Jang Ji-won. But we actually see a lot more remakes here in Korea. So Pilot, Handsome Guys, Hidden Face, Believer, Door Lock, Intimate Strangers, Cold Eyes. These are a few examples from the last decade or more. And I think, one of the reasons they're so popular is because directors are just really gifted at localizing them. So even though these films are kind of, obviously they're based on original IP, and so they haven't, it's not an original concept, but they're able to bring it to Korea, find some kind of local themes. I mean, Pilot deals with some gender themes in a quite comical way, and Handsome Guys is a completely wild and wonderful. I love that movie. It's based on a Canadian film. But yeah, again, it does feel Korean. There's something Korean about it, and so I think given that there are a number of successful cases, and this is yet another one. I just see this happening further down the road as well, giving it a local touch and in some cases a new twist or two.
Because we have limited time today, I'm going to move on to the next film.
Sure.
Now to today's second film, Darcy. Your recommendation this week is Korean independent film about three troubled teenagers, funky, freaky freaks, a.k.a. Chung Chung Chung. It's a debut film that premiered in competition at last year's Busan International Film Festival, and it started its theatrical release on Wednesday. Darcy, what can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, I remember people talking about this at last year's Busan Film Festival, and I didn't catch it then. I watched it this week, but I was struck with how there was such a difference of opinion, and some critics really loved it, some critics really didn't like it. Everybody had an opinion about it. And from what I heard, it sounded like the kind of film that I wouldn't like. It's described as having a really maximal style, kind of, a lot of people are comparing it to sort of 1980s MTV, shaky handheld camera, lots of cuts and visual effects. But it did end up winning a special jury award at the festival. So it was one of the award winners in Busan's first competition section. The Korean title, Chung Chung Chung. It's kind of an interesting title because it comes from the chapter titles in the film, all of which start with the same syllable in Korean. And so Chungdong is impulse, Chungdo is collision, and Chunggyok is shock. But the character Chung can also refer to insects. There's Kim Gi-young's famous Chungyo, insect woman. And the film opens with a shot of this insect larvae, which can be seen as kind of symbolizing or representing the main characters in some way. Other characters tend to look down on them. The film's produced by the Korean National University of Arts, where the director Han Chang-lok got his film degree. And yeah, I think he's made an impression.
So tell us about the three troubled high school teens who are the main characters.
Sure. So there's Yonggi, who more or less lives by himself. Like his single mother is always kind of off somewhere. She seemed to have started a relationship with somebody else. And she doesn't seem very interested in him, and that clearly bothers him. He's best friends with Jisuk, who has an eating disorder. And we learn that she was abused by her father when she was young, and her father isn't around anymore, but she's still clearly affected by that. And Youngi obviously has a crush on Jisuk. She sees him as just a good friend. And then there's a third character, Dombo. He's a gay character who grew up being bullied by other students. He tends to pass his time online impersonating a woman and kind of scamming older men out of their money. And, so the three of them, they're seen by other students as being a bit freakish, but, they have kind of this more or less stable friendship until this other character shows up. There's a transfer student who arrives named Uju. He's rich, he's good looking, he's kind of a accomplished judo player. He hooks up with Jisuk for fun, and kind of at first glance she falls for him, and then he humiliates her in front of the whole school, and this sets off this whole chain where Yonggi is upset at what Uju did to Jisuk, and Jisuk's upset for being betrayed, and so it ultimately spirals into some violence at the end.
So a lot of the drama that you described, but as all works of art do, the film is probably saying something about the real world, and you wanted to talk about that because this involves teens. I'm suspecting this is something about the social situations faced by young people here. So what does the film say? Yeah,
I mean, to a certain extent, it shows the effect of social media on young people. I mean, it's hardly the first film to do that, but it does it pretty well. It touches on teen suicide. There's one video in particular that's kind of an upsetting video that some of the characters are watching and referencing. At the same time, it does give you the sense of the younger generation being kind of abandoned or ignored by adults. There are a couple adult characters in the film, but they don't really play a major role. They don't seem that interested in these teens and their problems, and so that provides kind of a level of, there's kind of a sad, melancholy undertone to the energy of the film, because the film is, it has a lot of energy. It's kind of like in your face and back and forth, but it has this sad undertone, and so that's one of the interesting things about the film. But yeah, I mean, to one extent, there's something universal about young people kind of losing faith in society, losing faith in the future, and rebelling or turning violent in some way. I mean, you can find examples all back through human history of that.
Right.
But yeah, it does, kind of capture the contemporary moment quite well at the same time.
What are your overall thoughts?
I mean, I liked it more than I thought I was going to like it. I don't think I'm ever going to be the type of person who is drawn to this really kind of, this particular kind of style, because it is kind of a jumpy. You can clearly see that the director's trying to put a lot of energy into the film. And there are moments where I'm thinking, do we need that? Because the characters themselves are quite interesting. I liked the acting. These are not well-known actors, but all of them did quite well. And just seeing them interact with each other is interesting enough on its own. But yeah, I mean, the style does make the movie stand out. I mean, certainly other people have been connecting to the style quite well. And on the whole, it is a movie that I'm going to remember. And I think it gave me kind of a very vivid portrait of the experience of young people today.
Jason, what are your thoughts?
Well, I saw in Busan as well, and I just thought it was kind of insane. It's just full of energy, and like Darcy said, it does talk about the issues facing young people. So, and this is something we see time and time again in independent cinema. But this felt a little bit different. It felt quite raw. There's a raw energy to it. It was basically, the most, I mean, Busan last year was a bit disappointing overall, but this is definitely one of the films that was a standout.
That concludes this week's Movie Spotlight. We had in the studio today film critics Jason Bechervaise. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
And Darcy Paquet.
Thanks, Andrew.